Welcome back to For the Record. The Madison Police Department has a new chief after a roughly 6-month search. Newly appointed Chief John Patterson has been with the Madison Police Department for nearly 30 years and has previously served as an assistant police chief. I sat down for a one-on-one interview with Patterson to talk about the top issues for the department. And I want to bring up some of MPD's own data and kind of get your reaction and response to your plan for this. So according to a 2024 report, theft and assault were some of the highest offenses. Do you have plans to kind of look at those types of crime and address some of the higher things we're seeing in this area?
Our tracked crimes, including aggravated assaults and property crimes, are all trending down this year, which is great compared to last year. And I think it's reflective of our commitment to data-informed operation. But I think it is also causing us to look at the shift that we made in our investigative model. And so this year, we reorganized our detective resources and created essentially teams around certain crime categories, including person crimes and property crimes, to hopefully give a better service delivery in investigative follow-up to the entire community.
And so also to kind of just go off this data, again, back to 2024, we saw a disproportionate number of arrests when it comes to Black residents in Madison compared to white residents. How is the department looking to address that?
Analyzing racial disparities is something that has to be a priority for me. I think for far too long, it's been something that's persisted in our community. I think in the last, half a dozen or so years, maybe a little more, we've really made some great progress in reducing the number of arrests in total. So if you look at year-to-year trends, you'll see a decrease, but the disparities have persisted. So it hasn't really, those efforts have not affected the disparate numbers. So I think we need to continue to look at things like our restorative justice efforts and how are we diverting people away from the criminal justice system, both pre-arrest decisions and post-arrest decision efforts. But I think we also need to bring the community more to the table and do some active reflection, I guess, on our arrest decisions.
And now I kind of want to ask about body cameras here. So after a pilot program, your predecessor, Sean Barnes, wanted all officers to have body-worn cameras by 2027. Is that a priority, a goal of yours? Are you working towards that?
Body cameras will continue to be a priority. I think 2027 is probably overly optimistic, to be honest. It's a tremendous investment right now as the city is still coming off of the voter-approved referendum last year. We're still managing some of our budget challenges for next year. And so I don't think we'll see them immediately, but I'm going to continue to prioritize those as an acquisition in the future.
Is that something you're talking with the city about getting in the budget? Is there a timeline you could foresee for those cameras?
Well, that will be a large capital expense first, and then there's associated operating impacts as well as far as personnel, mainly in our records section to help us manage the files and respond to public records requests. I can tell you right now we're struggling a little bit with all things video, responding to all of the YouTubers and other folks that are requesting video right now. It's a lot, and so to think about dropping 492 body cameras and all the associated video that's going to be recorded every day on our records staff right now would be ill-advised, I think.
So no timeline quite yet.
No timeline quite yet. I hate to say that, but it's a priority, and I think we're going to continue to have the discussions.
Is there money shelled out in this in this budget for you guys to help maybe put aside for body cameras in the future?
Not specifically for body cameras, no.
And so moving to a little different topic here. So at the beginning of this year with the election, we saw a lot of protests in Madison, lots of crowds. How, as chief, do you plan to work to control crowds? Are there different tactics that you're wanting to take? Madison is a very active community. We also have Badger game days, lots of big events here and protests. What are things that you do to help crowd control and to mitigate any clash with officers?
No, that's a great question. I think we are a department that's committed to continuous improvement, and I think first and foremost we reflect on the lessons that we've learned. We learned a lot in 2020. Obviously, we had a lot of days responding to protests and to some really difficult circumstances. And we went through a growth period during that time. And at the end of it, per our Madison method, we reflected on it and we looked for lessons learned. We had the Quattrone Center come in and do a Sentinel event review for us. They gave us a number of recommendations to move forward. And so first we always reflect, and then, we rely on our Madison method. We reach out to organizers. We try to understand what their goals and objectives are. We're always committed, to protecting First Amendment rights and the rights of assembly. And we try to strike a good balance between the rights of those to express those rights of, free speech and assembly, but then the rights of everyone else around it to be safe and have a safe environment as well. So it's a tricky balance. Sometimes, our organizers are more communicative than other times. But so far this year, we've had a lot of success with those that have held events here in Madison. And I think the one back in June was a great example of that success. So.
And so kind of speaking of that, the federal government has been threatening or deploying the National Guard in cities across the state, across the states. That includes like Chicago and Milwaukee and discussions like that. Can I just kind of get your reaction as someone in law enforcement to that?
Well, it's definitely something that I think about a lot now. Something that maybe I didn't think was possible a few months ago, but it caused us to reach out to the National Guard here locally and request a meeting with them just to start some tabletop planning. I mean, I think the last year has really emphasized to me the importance of developing relationships prior to an event. So we're trying to communicate with our National Guard partners early, and that's not signaling that anything's been suggested here locally. It's just so that we understand what their goals and objectives would be if something like that would happen here in Madison.
Wonderful. I think that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it.